10, 11 edition of the AFC Northcast. It was an eventful week, to say the least. I am Joey, and I am joined, as always, by Chad.
Great to be here, Joey. Never had a better day for a podcast, maybe in my life. What a great day to podcast and talk AFC North football.
Wow. That's a whole lot of enthusiasm.
I mean, it just feels like everything is going the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, seems like everything's going to the plan.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
maybe better than the plan. If I'm being honest.
Yeah, for some of us.
Never has there been a plan like this in my mind.
What kind of spirits are you enjoying tonight there, buddy?
We got good stuff tonight, Joey. We've got Frost Beer Works, which is one of Vermont's very popular IPA manufacturers. They manufacture at least 36 to 90 different IPAs, which is very important if you're a brewery in Vermont. This is their research series. This is where they play around a little bit. I just learned this like 5 minutes ago. You can figure out which research series it is on the bottom of the can to the bitter end.
Huh.
So they kind of crank up the IBUs, that's bitterness units, and they kind of more of a West Coast style IPA we're going to be drinking tonight. So Frost Beer Works out of Heinsberg, Vermont. Great IPAs. How about you, my friend?
Well, I am drinking a Jack and Coke for two reasons. Tennessee whiskey. The Ravens are playing the Titans this week. And although they're playing in Baltimore, hopefully the Titans can bring that Matt Skura snap that landed in Tennessee in the fourth quarter to Baltimore with them.
Yeah. Now, did that one fly to Tennessee, or was that the one that took the
It
subway?
skipped to Tennessee. Yeah.
Oh man. Speaking of Matt Skura bad snaps, should we dive into some? Should we just get it over with? I mean,
Yeah,
I found
let's rip off the Band-Aid. So,
rip off the band-aid.
probably the
I like
biggest story in the division last week was the Ravens. I think the final score was 23 to. Oh, that looks frosty there, buddy.
it. It's a bad pour. I don't know what happened. I
Lots
might have
of head
dropped
on
it
the
out of my
mustache
refrigerator. Yeah, I might leave it.
there. Yeah,
Might leave it.
was the Ravens losing to the New England Patriots 23-17 in a game that kind of felt like the Ravens were in trouble from the very beginning. Just to give a general flow of the game, the Ravens went down on, I believe, their opening drive, scored a touchdown. Ravens scored first, went up 7-0, and the Patriots got the ball and did the same. Power running game. Brandon Williams came out of the game during the very first drive with an apparent ankle injury and would not come back in the game. Calais Campbell is already on injured reserve, and that's bad news against the Patriots basically played all night with 6 offensive linemen. Like they just did not really try to do anything else. They stayed out of third and longs. But at halftime, I think it was 10-7 or 13-7.
It was 13-10 Patriots.
13-10. There you go. It was
notable.
close.
Very notable because of the Ravens' struggles when down at halftime.
Yep. And then the
Not to bring
Patriots
that
got the Patriots scored first in the second half. I want
Yeah,
to say
great drive.
I want to say they got the ball and scored.
They did. I think it was the first
Yeah.
drive. Had a couple really notable plays. One great Harris run in which Marlon Humphrey had to get in there after about 10 yards. He tried to strip it. Probably the first time this year I've seen him really get in there and still fail to pull the
Yeah.
ball. That's a bad sign when things were just not going well already.
Yep.
And then Myers, a guy that we had talked about probably not being a big threat to the Ravens, had a couple big plays, and one of them was on that drive. And then I think it was finished off with Cam Newton basically walking into the end zone from about 8 yards away. So
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
just all
not
the stuff
not a
that you
good
didn't
drive.
want
The
to have
Ravens
happen.
were kind of reeling on that drive. The second score, so the last score of the first half, was a classic Bill Belichick gadget, like jet sweep motion screen type of thing to Jacoby Meyer, if that's his name,
It's
who
Jacoby Myers. Yeah.
floated a ball to Rex Burkhead, who was kind of being like face guarded by Patrick Queen, but it was kind of like a college style of pass coverage that you can get away with. And Rex Burkhead found the ball. Everybody was all over Jacoby Myers nuts about making a great throw. He kind of just like chucked the ball up into the end zone, and Rex Burkhead went and got it.
It was a good throw.
It was
You're upset.
It was fine.
You're upset.
I've seen
You're
better.
upset.
Jarvis Landry makes a better throw every single time he gets it, and he did not play quarterback in high school and have to transition in college.
Yeah, I mean, you're upset, and so you're trying to compare him to like one of the best non-quarterback throwers of the ball. We all love Jarvis Landry's throws, so to say he falls short of that benchmark, it's not really an insult. It was a good play, and it was the right target. Patrick Queen did not take Rex Burkhead's route seriously, and so he just let him run by him. And then, if you want to make lemonade out of this, Patrick Queen, nice closing speed.
Yeah.
Not quite nice enough.
Yeah.
But
and we're still seeing very much that he's a rookie. It's easy to forget. In the Steelers game, he got exploited a couple times. The blown coverage in the Steelers game on Ebron was like the big glaring thing, but he still has these moments where he looks a little bit lost, and I wouldn't say it's expected, but like it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So the Ravens were down 20-10, and moving the ball well.
Highlighted this
most of the night, but kind of like grinding drives away, and they kicked a field goal somewhere in there. It's all a blur of anger and despair.
If you want to go through it,
yep.
The Patriots got another field goal, and it was after 4th and 1. You want to talk about the 4th and 1?
4th and 1. The Ravens have a 4th and 1 in New England territory, I believe.
Yeah. It was in that middle.
It was around midfield.
Yeah.
And the Ravens attempt to run a wildcat play with Lamar Jackson out wide and Mark Ingram taking the snap. And the irony of your quarterback being called a running back his whole career is that basically every play you run is a wildcat play when you have Lamar Jackson as your quarterback. And I don't understand. It had been raining for the last 2 hours of real time, and in 4th and 1, down 2 scores, you're doing a shotgun snap in the rain to Mark Ingram. The snap was not clean. Matt Skura snapped the ball past Mark Ingram, who could do nothing but dive on it, and the Ravens turned the ball over on downs. At this point, and so the Patriots kicked the field goal, which they didn't have to do anything on offense to get into field goal range. Kicked the field goal, and that was their last points of the night. Granted, they didn't really try to pass at all. Every time the Ravens were not able to completely sell out on the run, the Pats ran at will. At the end of the game, the Pats were just trying to take the air out of the ball, chew the clock up, and the Ravens stopped them pretty successfully. with the exception of they had the Pats pinned down like inside the 5 for a drive, and they got a punt out of that drive, but the Pats got like a couple pretty big first downs running the
Yeah.
ball on that drive, and that is kind of like really took the air out of the game. It just stunk. And so the Ravens got the ball back with like 6 minutes, started driving. I think they turned the ball over on downs.
Yeah, that I don't
That
actually
second
have
to
that
last
written
drive.
down. What I have written down is that Lamar did one of his classic Lamar highlight reel deals on 3rd down and 3.
Oh gosh,
He
yeah.
he eluded like everyone twice and then picked up 10 yards or whatever, strolling out of bounds in the most infuriating way, the way he does.
Yeah.
And
It
then
was probably like legitimately like the most spectacular run he's had. Not
yeah,
as far as like scoring or yards gained, but like just like video game absurdity,
yeah,
elusiveness.
I don't remember every moment of it, but I wrote down magic, so I was impressed. But then there was another bad snap that went by him, and I think that set up like 2nd and 25 or something, and and he threw a bad pass that McCourty I think should have intercepted, and then I think they turned it over on downs.
Yep. Also, when Lamar jumped on the bad snap, rather than touching him, Chase Winovich crashed into already laying on the ground, not trying to get up and do anything. Lamar Jackson, I know we kind of had a version of this discussion with the TJ Watt thing. This was different. The referees conferred and decided that they were in Foxborough and they didn't want to get force choked by Bill Belichick, so they didn't call a penalty.
I didn't notice the play, so it obviously didn't strike me as anything to care about, but I'm sorry that your delicate sensibilities are offended.
Most quarterbacks, if that was Tom Brady, fucking whoever, whatever linebacker does that gets suspended for the rest of the year, probably.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna like debate you a bunch because I don't remember the play, but all I will say is this: like, he, if you can't slow down when it comes to Lamar, like he probably you got to try not to hurt people that are laying prostrate on the ground, but like with Lamar, you can't slow down because he's so fast. So like you get to him as fast as you can, and then yeah, you try not to hurt him, but like you can't just like stroll over there and tap him on the ass. Like he's fast. If you don't do something, he's going to get up and get another first down.
He gave himself up just covering the snap.
Well, then they should have blown the whistle, Joey.
So the Ravens turn that ball over on downs, stop the Pats, and then get a touchback on the punt. Or no, it's like a fair catch at like the 18, but the Ravens committed some stupid fucking penalty on the first play of that drive. So
holding by Bozeman.
First play of the drive with like a minute 15 left. It is now, well, not quite. It's raining hard, but it's not like the full ridiculousness yet. It's after this play happens. So Lamar tucks the ball, scrambles for like 15 yards, gets out of bounds. We got like a little over a minute on the clock, and we're at like the 30-yard line. It's like, okay, this is like a little bit more manageable. We'll see what we can make happen. And then the heavens open up. So holding penalty on Bozeman. So half the distance to the goal because they weren't even at the 20-yard line. So now it's 1st and 18 from their own 9 with a minute left and a goddamn monsoon. Like absolute insanity. And I knew at that point, like, the Ravens having to pass just simply was not going to work. Like, there was no way that anybody was going to cover 90 yards in a minute with any type of efficiency. And so the game was pretty much over. Before it was over, Lamar, the game ended with Lamar throwing a pass across the field off of J.K. Dobbins' hands because of previously mentioned end of days perfect storm weather. And it was just a really shitty Sunday night.
I'm glad that you at least did us all the service of not bringing up the weather until the final minute of the game, which is when it really impacted everything. So that when you proceed to blame more things on the weather, we'll all have a good reference point for how much percentage of the game it was truly responsible for.
No, I think I've been fair. The weather was definitely a factor, but the Patriots were never going to be able to throw the ball against the Ravens. Like, that was never going to be their game plan. Like, we've seen that, like, in the Bills game in week 1. Like, the Patriots were going to power run against the Ravens, and then once Brandon Williams went out, that really solidified that strategy. I think the Ravens were affected more by a hindered ability to throw the ball. The bad snaps stunk, but like the weather wasn't ungodly until that very last drive was like when it was so bad that there was definitely no passing happening. Like, it just wasn't
Yeah.
going to happen.
And this is good because I thought I was gonna have to like explain to you that this was like statistically Lamar's second best game passing of the season, and I'm glad that we're understanding here that the weather really only ruined one
Yeah,
drive.
his last pass of the first half was taking a shot to Hollywood Brown, which we can get into that tonight if you would like, but we don't have to. We can save it.
For
Taking a
what?
shot to Hollywood Brown, who just got bodied out of bounds because he weighs fucking 110 pounds soaking wet by backup cornerback J.C. Jackson,
He's good, for the record.
who he's
he's a
also a
good
Terp,
player.
who intercepted the ball. But so before that interception, Lamar's statistics were better than his first half passing statistics last year against the Patriots when the Ravens absolutely shit pumped the Patriots on Sunday Night Football. So he was passing well enough. Willie Snead had a great game. Like, there were some good things that the Ravens did, but not
And maybe
consistently enough, and could not stop the power run game of the Patriots.
no, that was a big problem, and a couple other things that I wanted to throw out there. Just because, like, look, the Ravens are a good team. It's tempting to like be upset with the things that you feel like are out of your control, like the weather. Um, they committed a bunch of personal fouls. Like, the Ravens are a physical team. Maybe they always play the same brand of football. On this night, they were getting called for it, and to me, most of the calls were justified. Like, they got roughing calls on a series of plays. One of them was that led to the last field goal after the 4th and 1.
The
There
Judon
was
push.
another one. There was another one on the last drive when they actually forced a punt, but they gave up like 3 first downs beforehand, which is why they only got the ball with a minute left. Um, just a lot of silly mistakes that you don't usually see out of the Ravens. And the other thing that I just started thinking about today is like, okay, it's raining, so you can't pass the ball well. Well, all we've talked about for the last year and a half is that the Ravens are the best running team in the NFL, and that of all the teams in the NFL, they're the one that can run a 2-minute offense, not necessarily throwing the ball. And so I just don't like this when we have to throw. It's a problem thing, and to me, it's an indictment on the Ravens' unwillingness to lean into their strengths. And
Yes.
and the other thing is, if it's raining and you've already had 2 terrible snaps, can Lamar not play under center? Like, does he have to be in the shotgun? Like, what are we doing here?
Yes, and yes. Um, all season for me, I've said that I don't know why the Ravens aren't running more. Uh, Especially now with like all the linemen out, like it's way easier for an inexperienced offensive lineman to run block. So the play calling, like I don't know, like as much as like it's really cool that the Ravens transformed their offense on the fly to Lamar and then like added some sweet wrinkles last year and caught everybody by surprise. Like we have kind of seen this play out for Greg Roman before, and once the league caught up, which I don't know if the league has caught up. Like I feel like when the Ravens decide they want to be like a read option power running football team, they still can be, but they don't. They seem hesitant to commit to that anymore for whatever reason. Maybe it's they're like trying to display their trust in Lamar because like they feel like they have to. Like I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. They need to run the ball more.
How close is your hand to the panic button?
It's like right over it. So the next 2 weeks. So the biggest factor in all that is the injuries. Like the Ravens have sustained a lot of injuries. We didn't even mention. So the Ravens lost Nick Boyle in the fourth quarter on a really
You
nasty looking hit right to the knee. So now they're down Ronnie Stanley, Calais Campbell. I don't know if Brandon Williams has practiced this week.
he's not going to be back this week, is my understanding.
Yeah. Nick Boyle. So they're down to one tight end. They only came into the season with two tight ends on the roster. So they're trying a couple guys out, and they've got some practice squad guys. Jimmy Smith is out still. The Ravens lost Terrell Bonds during the game, their other corner that they had just moved up. So that put Traymon Williams in like a position where he was starting, and the Ravens picked some guy up from Denver off of waivers, another corner. So lots of injuries, and honestly, Boyle might be the most significant one. LJ Fort has been out for a couple weeks. Like it's just like the list goes on and on. Like it's ridiculous. So, but the Ravens are a good football team, and they still like shouldn't be struggling. Like they have a lot of self-inflicted wounds also. So, yeah, I'm worried about this week coming up and the Steelers game and everything else. Like we'll basically know after those 2 weeks what the Ravens are playing for anyways, because they're not going to get fully healthy before the playoffs. And so if they can make the adjustments that they need to, they'll be a dangerous team in the playoffs. But I don't think that they're the favorite after maybe the wild card round, depending on who they play anymore. They're still favored against Tennessee by like almost a touchdown, which is insane to me. But
Well, we'll have to hold that thought until we get back to that.
yeah,
Do you feel like this has been therapeutic for you? Is there anything else you'd like to say about this incredibly embarrassing loss?
yeah, fuck Hollywood Brown. That's what I'll say.
Okay. Do you need to rant about that now, or do you want to do it when with regards to tight strategy later in the
Yeah,
podcast?
you just can't be on Twitter complaining and then get the fucking clamps put on you one on one in the red zone twice by J.C. Jackson. Like it cannot happen.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Where do you want to go next? I forgot already.
Cleveland.
Yes.
While we're talking about shitty weather,
I'm glad we did this because this is actually the worst weather game of the week.
windy for sure.
They actually delayed the game because of the weather.
Lightning,
They
right?
delayed it because it
Yeah.
was so bad. And the wind. Did you see it blowing? It was like those crazy. You know when they put like the weather person in the hurricane
Yeah.
and then they do the report? That's what the wind looked like. It was like flapping shirts and pants. Like I saw a person with an iPhone doing a video. insane. Like you could see the wind, like because it was driving the rain and those like gray gusts. It was bonkers. I'm gonna quote Kevin Stefanski here. That game was not for the forward pass.
which played right into the Browns' hands.
It did. It
So the
did.
the final score was 10-7, but really this was a 17-7 game because Nick Chubb ended the game by stepping out at the 1 yard line to the chagrin of many people that had the Browns -3.5 in this ball game.
Sure.
Yeah,
Pitchforks.
there were no turnovers in this game. It was a whole lot of running. And Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, I think, both had over 100 yards.
They did.
And every time, for whatever reason, the Browns are forced to become a running football team, like good things happen. And so that continued.
Yeah, they got J.C. Treader back, who is their right guard. He's one of the guards, and he's been awesome. It's really not fair to ask me to remember that when their center is named Teller. It's like a lot for me to always be keeping track of. So try to not be so judgmental if there's any Browns people listening. The point is the Treader's really good. He's maybe the best lineman on the best line in the NFL. So great quality to have. Yeah, they got it going, man. And one thing that I like about Chubb when I'm not watching him play the Steelers is that every week he has a drive that he just dominates. And in this one, it was the touchdown drive that won the game, made it 10-0. They got a little bit going with Higgins, had a little bit of a bobble catch that was exciting. And then there was a big pass interference play that got him into Houston territory. And then Chubb just had 3 straight 10-plus yard runs. He just had like an 11-yard run, an 11-yard run. And then like, look, I'm not going to say the Browns do anything better than the Steelers, but let me just say this. When the Steelers run the ball from the 12-yard line, I can be relatively certain it's not going to be a touchdown. But Chubb just sweet cut back. Everybody's flowing to the right. Chubb just plants that right foot, cuts back to the left, and breaks one arm tackle half-heartedly to stroll into the end zone. Really great touchdown. Just an incredible running back. Like he's just so good, and you have to be better than Hunt, who like depending on the moment, he's either looking like so quick and shifty and explosive, like some sort of Darren Sproles like movement, or he's becoming like who's that idiot that got on the cover of Madden? Peyton Hillis, and he just drags like 3 people for a first down. Like he's so strong.
He also he almost bailed out Baker on like a really bad throw by making like an insane catch in the flat again, like a one-handed catch.
Yeah, he's got that going too. So those guys are awesome, and any time that they're the focal point of the game, they're better. They're going to be fresher because they're just like, dude, like you've seen it even in that game, like a couple times, like someone gets a stinger, someone has a long run and gets hurt, they jog off the field. Who are you bringing in? You're bringing in either Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb. I mean, it's not like the Steelers who are bringing in Benny Snell, or maybe you can be pretty proud of the Ravens deep running back roster. They're pretty good, but like, I mean, it's not Giovanni Bernard. Like, I mean, we're talking about big steps down. We're talking about 2 all-pro guys that can just wear you down. And it was weird to watch this game because it didn't feel like anyone was playing that bad. They just like, nobody was getting in the end zone. There was just like little just mistakes. One penalty here, one good tackle there. I don't know. It was maybe a couple of bad decisions by Houston's coaching staff. Maybe we should go there. They had what was it, in the first half, they tried for a long field goal in that wind. And a lot of people were saying they should have gone for it. Do you think that and then at the end of the game they tried to go for it when maybe they should have kicked the field goal.
Yeah.
What do you think?
The way that so the wind is one of those things that it's like, other than the flags on the goalpost, it's hard to see. Like, even in the passing game, it's hard to like see that the wind, what kind of effect it has. But if it's as bad as like Stefanski says, like, oh, this was not for the forward pass, like, yeah, like, I don't know why you don't go for it and kick the long field goal. So it's just the inconsistency. Like, yeah, like, do it one way both times or do it the other way both times. Like,
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out if I can remember when they actually did that other field goal where they kicked it instead of. Oh, I guess they did go for it. I don't know. They had a couple of dicey calls. The wind was crazy. Um, there is one drive that I would like to bring up. It was the drive that made it 10-7. And this is going to be me reaching outside the AFC North, but Deshaun Watson, I feel like at least once a game, it just gets bonkers with Deshaun Watson. And he had a play, I don't remember what down it was, but he like was getting tackled and he was spinning around because I think it was the strong safety, Ronnie Harrison, who had him by the legs. And he just threw it. Like, if anyone tells you otherwise, they're lying. Like, he didn't know what he was doing. He just threw it, and he threw it to the middle of the field. This wasn't like a Aaron Rodgers, like, I know Jermaine Gresham is like 40 yards down there on the sideline and I'll put it where he can get it. No, this was like, I'm just throwing it forward, I think, forward. Like, I've been spinning, so I'm not 100%
yeah.
even sure. Um, Randall Cobb catches it, and then, like, boom, the Sparks, they're ready. And then, like, he makes a pinpoint touchdown, like, to, I think it was Farrell Brown, yeah, on like the next play. And it's just this like lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
But even he can't predict it.
Yeah.
Like, he's just like, if you could do this for 15 of the 60 minutes a game, like, you'd win a lot. But it was just a crazy drive, and I just remember thinking, like, how is this team only scoring 7 points? And the funny part is there was like a million defenders. Now I remember the Farrell Brown is in the middle because Farrell Brown ran from like the tight end spot on the left side of the line like a streak, and Will Fuller on the outside ran like a post. So they were in the same spot in the end zone with like three defenders right there when Farrell Brown caught it. It was like either the worst play design that my high school coach ever made or someone made a mistake.
Yeah.
But he still squeezed it in there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, he does this
just
magic thing, and like, it's crazy. He had the wild stat, and I think it's probably been spoiled this year. But like, his first like 40 starts or a significant amount of the beginning of his career, the Texans never lost by more than one score. Like, it was like a crazy stat that like you didn't think about, but they never lost by more than 8 points, I think, until like the Ravens game last year.
wow, I did not remember that. That's cool.
So
And it fits perfectly in line with like the legacy of his college career at
yeah.
Clemson. That's pretty sweet. I would not be doing our listeners justice if I didn't bring up the first good Texans drive and lead into a couple of key players that we like to watch. So the Texans go all the way down the field after going down 3-0. This is like their second drive of the game. And they get to like the 5-yard line, and Sendejo comes up and drives a big tackle at the 2-yard line. I can't even remember who he tackled, but did you catch that? Did you catch
No.
Sendejo getting in there and getting dirty?
Look at that.
Yeah?
They should still cut him tomorrow.
Yeah, probably. But it was a huge play. Stopped him and that made it 4th down and goal from the 2. And then, of course, the man that has been born to try to spite me, Myles Garrett, tackles Deshaun Watson for a loss on 4th and 2. On Dude, what a lame sneak. Like, I know he's big and strong, and like,
but not that
I
much.
just
Like,
don't like, why do you run up the middle when the defense is so condensed like that? Like, you should be rolling and have the option to pass or run. I know you're trying to be unpredictable and stuff, and Myles Garrett's really good. Maybe tackles him no matter what. Um, so Myles Garrett made a great play in that, and I'm not going to beat around the bushes with this. Most weeks, I can paint a picture in which Myles Garrett didn't have as good of a game as maybe the stat heads and some of the media people want to say, that are trying to just force his Defensive Player of the Year down our throats. This might have been his best game. this might have been his best
you
game.
know
He had a
what?
sack. I
Aided by
think
the
he was
weather.
credited. Yeah, he had I think he was credited with half a sack, but he had a sack. He had that 4th down stop, which is basically a turnover, and it stopped a touchdown. And then he had another play that I actually missed, but I was listening to it on they were talking about it on the Cleveland Browns daily podcast, where Deshaun Watson broke out and was making his way up the middle for a run, and Myles Garrett turned up, and he listens, obviously. He heard me say that he's not chasing in the run game, not giving max effort, and he chased Deshaun Watson down to limit his gain on a nice little run play. So he was doing a little bit of everything. Great game from Myles Garrett. Maybe I think I'm going to call it his first complete game of the year. That's just my opinion. But good job, Myles. Um, NFL leader in sacks. TJ Watt's catching up, but he still got it.
Yeah. And the
Myles
Browns
Garrett.
won the game.
10-7. Good win. That ties them in the Ravens with the Ravens in the AFC North. So who do you think is the second best team in the AFC North?
I think the Ravens still are. But with all the injuries, it's closer
That is
than I'd like it to be. I
that is
think so. I think the Ravens are the better team. I think, like, if they played tomorrow, the Browns match up real good against the Ravens, specifically their offense. Like,
yeah.
and last year I would have been like, oh, but the Ravens can exploit the Browns' stupid, shitty secondary. But we haven't seen that at all this year against anybody. So
Willie
there's
Snead's not running by anybody deep.
no reason to believe any of that. So,
Oh man!
well,
All
I
right.
don't know. I think my grandma could run by Andrew Sandejo deep, but
Your grandma's faster than Willie Snead.
yeah, of course she's 6'4", 240, runs a fucking 4.3.
All right, let's get to the game that had the second worst weather of the division games this week. And I can prove it. A crane was knocked down in Pittsburgh from the wind. The gusts, even in the afternoon during the game around Pittsburgh, were 40 to 60 miles per hour. You couldn't tell because Ben Roethlisberger has a howitzer. But that wind was cray, Joey. So, a bunch of AFC North teams were able to conquer the wind and the rain and the elements, and some of the other teams fell victim to it. And that's just life. That's a circle of life. It's a circle of life. So what we're talking about here is the Steelers. I was nervous about this game. I was wrong. I was wrong to be nervous because the Steelers just packed up all that Bengals shame and sorrow and sadness, and they packaged it up in a little gift box and handed it right back to them. They said, "This is yours to keep forever. It's yours to keep forever." 36-10. Good luck next time. How'd you like it?
Yeah, it's interesting for a 26-point win that the Steelers only ran for 44 yards. But I guess they're just like to be bullies, and that's okay.
That's what you've got. I mean, of course, you're not going to have much. And
Yeah,
yes,
there's not. I mean, there's not much to say like to the detriment of the Steelers. Um, we've seen this done to Joe Burrow before. Um, yeah, I just don't know. I don't know how the the Browns and the Steelers were able to defeat not only the weather, but the great defensive minds that lead the Texans and the Bengals defenses. It's insane. It's
yeah, I
impressive.
mean, you can try to prop up the Patriots as much as you want. It doesn't matter what Bill Belichick's mind is. He barely beat the Jets. Most of his defense is on the COVID list. He's throwing the season into the towel. He lost. You lost to a stinky team. You stink. Your jokes stink. And we beat the weather. And you guys are worse than the weather. So you lost to the Patriots and the weather. I think the Steelers are 10-0 right now. I don't know if they gave him credit for beating the weather or not. Anyway, we don't have to get too deep into that, and we don't have to get too deep into the narrative of this game. Um, I guess the one thing I will say, as the Bengals sympathizer here, is that the defense actually played pretty well early on. They committed two unfortunate turnovers early in the game, and they held the Steelers to field goals. And I think at halftime, no, it was in the second quarter. They were only up 12-7.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and they got a couple punts, and they, were throwing the ball all day. So they had a couple nice drives. And I think it was 22-7 at half. Really strong second quarter really propelled them and the game out of hand. Um, but some of the cool stuff that happened, and some of the stuff I'm going to talk about isn't even plays that really succeeded, so they might not be on your radar, Joey, or some of the other listeners. But one of the big plays was Sutton stripped Higgins on a first down catch, um, which was sweet. And Sutton has three forced fumbles in his last three games. Last three games. So we got our own little Marlon Humphrey over here. Little Marlon Humphrey protege. Now
Basically
that
the
he's
same player. Yeah.
no, not even close. He's not even he wouldn't even start once Hilton comes
Yeah.
back in, but he's a darn good player, and on a lot of teams I think he might start. Um, Not the Ravens, but a lot of teams, and so it's just cool.
I
I'm not trying to
know.
say he's Marlon Humphrey. Marlon
I
Humphrey's a
know.
great player. I'm just saying
I'm
it's cool.
prickly right now.
It's just cool. It's just very cool to have that happen, and I didn't even realize it. Another cool thing that happened is, yeah, the Steelers' running game it's a point of concern, legitimate one. And if you were gonna say like this is why I don't think the Steelers are, a Super Bowl favorite, that would be a good place to start because they seem to win in a lot of ways, but they haven't run successfully in like a month. However, they did incorporate the jet motion, which I've said in a few recent podcasts. Like, let's get some of that pre-snap motion going again. They didn't do it a lot, and it didn't always work, but they did do it a couple times. And one was right after this was the drive that got them their first touchdown. They did a big Claypool reverse, so they put him in motion. They actually did a reverse and got a big gain, and then on the next play, I think they did the jet sweep, and they gave it to Connor right up the middle, and it got everybody flowing, and it was probably the best run of the game. I think James Conner got like 15 yards, so it can work if you stick with it. And then the big thing that they need to do is is get the passing game going off it, and they did do that, but it's not going to be a memorable play because Ben overthrew Claypool, but he did go deep. So it's going to be on tape. When people look at that Steelers motion now, they're going to see a willingness to both give it to Chase, give it to Connor up the middle, and take that deep shot. So that's what you want to see. And you know all about this because the way the Ravens expand their playbook off one concept into many, many things, that's what you want to do to confuse teams. So even though it didn't work perfectly in this game, it's a good sign. It's a good sign that they're still committing to it at least a little, even though this spread offense stuff is kind of what's paying the bills right now.
Yeah.
Um, so that was really cool. And also special teams back to doing good stuff. Ray McLeod, dynamic. He had a big, huge 50-yard punt return, which was really fun. It was at the end of the game. It didn't really matter. Led to their last touchdown. But on that drive, Juju caught a huge third down again, and this is like Juju's calling card this year. Everyone's going to talk about Chase Claypool, Mapletron. I'm going to do it. Everybody's going to talk about Deontay Johnson and how he either drops the ball or breaks like 13 tackles. But Juju is just getting it done. I think he had like 7 catches for 70 yards, but like on 3rd and 9, he's going to catch it 7 yards out, and he is going to bully somebody for the last 2.5 to get that first down. And don't be so surprised if he's like MVP of the team this year. The Steelers do internal awards. He's really having a great year, and it's not showing in Pro Bowl level statistics, but I'd almost call it like a Hines Ward style year.
Yeah.
He just gets it done. So love that Juju mentality and work effort right now. It was, you know, if the run game was a little better, I'd be thrilled. There's one other thing, if you're not going to bring it up. The Bengals ran a genius fake punt. It was genius.
Yeah.
It was, I don't, they were down 36-7 at the time, so I don't know why you show it.
Yeah.
But if you look to where they ran it to the outside left, and the two Steelers gunners didn't even look for the ball carrier. You can see them on the screen just run
Yeah.
away. They never even see it. It was an excellent play call if the game script was going a little differently. Now I think people just know that they do it. I don't know. Maybe they have another play they run off it. Maybe they've spent like a lot of their time on these fake punt dynamics. But it really worked. So the weird part aside, a really effective one. Thank God it wasn't like a 7-point game, because I would have like died watching it.
Yeah.
Like, so yeah, 36-10. The Steelers have now absolutely blown out two division rivals. So according to historical data, you should not count on any more blowouts for the rest of the year. We got our 2. That's more than we usually get. So enjoy this big heartwarming, warm fuzzy. Steelers are the best, 9-0. They've never been 9-0. This is the first and only time it's ever happened. So it's okay to feel good, even if people tell you that the teams they play are bad, or their quarterbacks are bad, or they don't run the ball well, or that Ben Roethlisberger isn't good, and he is good. Did you see him humming those fastballs? I don't think I've ever seen him throw the ball as hard as he's throwing it right now. I think his arm might just fly off his shoulder one of these days. He's like zinging it. It's okay. It's okay to unapologetically feel good. You don't have to be rude about it, but this is a time to celebrate in a modest way. There's a lot left to accomplish, but it's okay to feel good. Don't apologize, Steeler Nation. It's okay to be happy.
And the murderer's row of stellar quarterbacking to oppose the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to continue in Week 11 as Jake Luton
Yep.
invites the Steelers into the humble accommodations in Duval County to face the 1-8 Jacksonville Jaguars, who had a feisty game this past week. I don't even remember who they were playing.
Packers.
But Miles Jack was all kinds of fired up. Closer game than most people probably anticipated. They even poked fun at the Lambeau Leap because there aren't any fans there to pour beer on them and push them back onto the field. But they don't really stand a chance. It might be closer than you anticipate because the Steelers recently, that's just how they're playing. Maybe things changed a little bit. We did see the passing game press a little more this past week against the Bengals. So if they do start to open that up some more, and whether it's giving Ben a little more rope, or just a change in the play calling, this could very well get ugly. But if they stick to the get the ball out fast type of stuff and the run game, Miles Jack's pretty formidable in the middle of the field there. I don't know if the Jaguars are the team you're going to get the run game right against. Might lend itself to a kind of a close game, but the Steelers should win pretty easily.
Yeah, I agree. I think you made a really good point about some of the deep passes that happened this past week, and how that could transfer over to this week, because the Bengals have very little pass rush aside from Carl Lawson, who accounted for every single quarterback pressure they had, which was 5. The Jags are similar. They have like one guy with 2 sacks, and I didn't even bother to write his name down. So that's like how worried about that I am. But Miles Jack and Joe Schobert, they're the guys. Number 44, number 47, respectively, both middle linebackers. They've got like 130 tackles between them already this year. The only other guy that's around that is the strong safety, and he's on injured reserve. So if the Steelers are capable of remembering that they have a way pre-snap of moving defenders around, then they might have a lot of yards after catch opportunity for the short passing game. Otherwise, they need to be willing to do more of that deep passing, because we need to see a little bit of that old Ben, little shedding a tackle or two, stepping up in the pocket, finding somebody as the play breaks down. Because, yeah, if you just don't move those middle linebackers and you just running right into them or throwing a slant right where they're waiting, you're not going to – it's going to take a long time to get from your 25 to their end zone. Let's just put it that way. That being said, they should still do it. James Robinson is the Jaguars running back. If you've never heard of him, that's okay. That's okay. You don't have to know who he is. Yeah. He's not a person that you need to know his name. But he's also not bad. He ran for like 120 yards against the Packers. The Steelers had like 6 straight weeks where they couldn't be run on, and then the Ravens made them question their own selves. And in today's America, we believe that it's okay to question who you are. So we're pro identity podcast, and the Steelers, you get to do that. You get to find out who you are. Well, right now they're a team that doesn't defend the run very well. So like there's a chance that if the Steelers don't pick up an early turnover, if they don't score a first drive touchdown, these are things that happen, that the Jaguars can kind of hang around, because they are willing to run the ball, especially with this new quarterback, and they're not terrible at it. And I know I said this about the Cowboys too. Like, they've got wide receivers that are capable, especially in a zone defense situation. We've talked about that, right? 20 free yards, people, that can be a problem. They've got DJ Chark, he's a guy that you should know his name if you listen to this podcast. Otherwise, well, I guess if you're family, you don't have to know his name. He's good. You got Keelan Cole. He's all right. He's good enough in zone.
Yeah.
You just got to catch it. And they've got Chenault, whatever. He's a rookie. He's really fast, and he's tricky. Also important, they hand him the ball. So if he starts running around in the back, it's okay to keep track of that, because he's going to maybe get it sometimes. And when you play a team that's undefeated and you are not a team that wins ever, you're going to do some funny business, like maybe fake punt when you're down 30 points. So watch out for the Laviska Shenault runs. The receivers are good. If the Steelers pass rush doesn't get home and they're running some of that silly zone stuff, prepare for a couple. Look, Steelers, you know what's going to happen. It even happened against the Bengals, right? They like confused Joe Burrow all day, and then they just let Higgins be wide open for like a 50-yard gain towards the end of the game. It's going to happen. So just know it. Also, yes, Vince Williams will guard Laviska Shenault once, yeah, and DJ Chark. Robert Spillane will be out wide. You don't have to know why. You don't have to ask questions. Just hope that it doesn't cost us the game because you know it's going to happen. So gird yourself emotionally now because it's going to happen. We already know. So we've talked about it. The Steelers should win by 14.
Yeah, yeah, they should 10 to 14. I'm thinking. All right. So the
What's
other
next?
half of that divisional matchup from last week, the Cincinnati Bengals will try to right the ship against the suddenly resurgent Alex Smith and the Washington professional football team, formerly known as the Redskin Potatoes. This is in the capital of the nation, Washington, D.C.,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't matter because the most anybody can have is like 5,000 fans.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and to be honest with you, I haven't watched a lot of Redskins games this year. Excuse me, football team games this year. I know that their pass rush is a formidable unit, but they have had some injuries. Um, Ioannidis, I think he's been hurt,
Okay.
and Chase Young missed a couple games, but I think he's back.
He's back. He committed the penalty that let the Lions win the game. So we know that he's
Oh,
around.
that's right. He called it a rookie mistake.
And that's what
Yeah,
he is.
he's for sure back. Um, and the Washington team does some. They have some weapons on offense. They will do some fun things. Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick are their two running backs that you'll see the most. They're both exceptional pass catchers, and the Redskins offensive coordinator came from Carolina, uh, where they kind of groomed what that offense became with Christian McCaffrey. And so you see some of that. And they also have Terry McLaurin on the outside. He wears number 17, and he's their best offensive player. He's really, really good. More than likely, they're going to waste his rookie contract, and he's going to go somewhere else and really flourish. But Alex Smith is coming off of, I think, a career high in yards, like 390 pass yards against the Lions, who don't necessarily have a worse defense than the Bengals. So might see some slinging it around here. So I think it'd be a high scoring game. Probably be pretty fun. Burrow and the boys ought to be able to right the ship a bit in the passing game. And I don't really know who I think is going to win this game yet. It's fun to pick the Bengals, though. So maybe I'll just go with the Bengals.
Yeah, I'll reiterate a couple of your points in different ways. I think that the Terry McLaurin situation is the part of this that I'm going to say advantage Bengals because they have a ton of injuries at cornerback right now, but Mackenzie Alexander is their best one and he's not injured. So the way that you hurt the Bengals badly is by having a multitude of weapons out wide, and
Mm-hmm.
Washington has a
A
singularity
one.
of weapons out wide. Yeah. So could still be a problem. I mean, look, they've got who do they have? I wrote it down. Isaiah Wright and Logan Thomas. Like, look, you're AFC Northcast people, so think of them as like Auden Tate and Michael Thomas. They are capable, but if they beat you, if they win a game over you, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Like you allow that. Um, and just to emphasize the running back situation, this is advantage Washington because the Bengals haven't really proven yet, even with a couple of veteran linebacker additions and Josh Bynes and whoever. They mostly play rookies. That they can keep track of those guys. In the last two games, the running backs have combined for 11 and 12 catches, respectively. So they are in no way afraid to throw the ball. They're very enthusiastic, super enthusiastic. And they're good runners, too. Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick both are okay. So, advantage potatoes, football team. Sorry. Don't want to offend any root vegetables out there. Um, and Alex Smith, he's not mobile anymore. I watched a little bit of his highlights, and he's not. He used to be pretty shifty. He doesn't seem to have that right now. to me, but he is sharp.
Shattering your
So
leg will do that to you,
the
I hear.
the Bengals have no pass rush, so Alex Smith can go through his reads and find open people, like checkdowns to running backs that aren't covered, very easily. So, look, the Bengals need to either have a pass rush, target these players that they know are going to get the ball, and like really teach their rookies, like, you know how like when you train in a dog, you just want them to focus on one thing, like no advanced thinking for the rookie linebackers this week. Give them an assignment, just do it.
See ball, get ball.
Right. And then on offense, it's okay, Joe Burrow. It's okay to panic about the pass rush, because you should panic, because that is what Washington does, and they do it basically as well as I'm gonna say like the Steelers, because they're more like the Steelers than the Ravens, but similar effect is what's going to happen here. They've got Jonathan Allen and Dewan Payne on the inside that basically don't let you ignore them, and then on the outside is where death comes from, and it's
Yeah.
Montez Sweat, it's Chase Young, and it's Ryan Kerrigan,
Gosh.
and they have 5, 3.5, and 4.5 sacks. Like they get you. They're gonna get you. So quick decisions, Joe. Good news though, Joe. That's all they got. So like they've got Kendall Fuller has 4 interceptions. So what you got to do is figure out where he is, and then throw the ball to the other side of the field in less than 2.5 seconds. I just made your reads for you.
2 of those were against the Ravens. So,
Sorry, what was that?
for whatever it's worth, 2 of those Kendall Fuller interceptions were against the Ravens.
Oh, 2 of them were against the Ravens. When you start talking, I only hear you after a few seconds, so it's a little bit of lip reading. But yeah, I mean, dude, if you can get Lamar to throw you an interception, you're an elite corner. So obviously, you got to watch out for Will Fuller.
He doesn't do it a lot.
Kendall Fuller, rather. And I'm picking the Bengals because I said one of their goals was to have a winning streak. And if I remember correctly, this is the time that it has to start happening. So,
Yeah.
Bengals win. I don't know what the spread is. If it's more than 4 for the Bengals, as in Bengals -4, I might have to pick Washington, but otherwise I'm picking the Bengals.
There you go. Yeah, I got the Bengals too. But lots of
Nice.
points. Lots of points.
All right, lots of points. And I think next we're going to the Browns, right?
That's right. The Browns are staying at home, I believe. All these games are at 1 o'clock on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And the Philadelphia Eagles are coming to town. Fly, Eagles, fly.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
Carson Wentz and the boys, or Miles Sanders and the boys, maybe now.
Yeah.
Coming off a fresh, hot, steamy loss to their division rival Giants,
God, they stink.
because nobody wants to win that division. I think they're still leading the division though,
Yeah, they
because of
are.
the tie.
Genius. Genius to punt.
Yeah, the Browns should cruise to victory against the Eagles. They're not good. They're very injured still. They're one of these teams. They've been injured since training camp, basically. They're starting to have some guys trickle back in. On
Jalen
offense, Jalen Rager, rookie
Dallas.
wide receiver.
Go eater.
That's
Goy
right.
dirt.
Go eat dirt. But they can be exploited. Especially, they're very similar to the Redskins defensively, in that their defensive front is very good, led by Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham. In fact, last week their defensive line coach was out with COVID, and so Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham basically coached the D line room and practiced all week. So they're really good. Veteran leadership. They are stout up front. They've got a guy. His name is also Sweat. I forget which one.
Josh.
Josh Sweat. He's a nice little edge player. Um, but their secondary is poop, and their linebackers are also poop.
It's a lot of poop
Yeah,
all over.
the grass is very green in Philadelphia because all the poop on the field.
Yeah.
So I think I mean Chubb and Hunt. This is a really good offensive line, so they ought to be able to at the very least minimize some of the things that the Eagles do on defense with that D line, and if they stick to their new identity, which with OBJ out, Baker's not doing the whole forcing the ball places thing much. I think the Browns should be just fine.
Yeah. Basically, I should make one note of sort of breaking news. We're gonna break some news. Breaking news. There was a COVID positive test outside the organization. So Jack Conklin, who is their right tackle, and kicker Cody Parkey and long snapper Charlie Hewletton Hewlett are on the COVID reserve list. So I think
Oof.
technically they could be back by Sunday, but like there is no margin for error. Like I don't think I don't even know if they can make it back for the Saturday walkthrough.
Long snap and punt. That's a dicey situation.
Kick Cody Parkey's the kicker.
Kicker. Okay.
So it is, yeah.
Yeah.
Like we're talking about points, and your right tackle who you paid like many millions of dollars. So with that in mind, you talked a little bit about the defensive front. I'm going to throw some sack numbers at you. The edge guys, Brandon Graham has 7 sacks, so he's like right there near the top of the NFL. Barnett has 4.5, and Josh Sweat has 3. So these are producers. Fletcher Cox has 3.5. And then they also have Malik Jackson and Javon Hargrave, who each only have 1.5. But if you're talking about double teaming people, get ready for those guys to get you right up the middle. If I were to tell you, I'm going to ask you a question, Joey.
Okay.
How many players total on the Eagles do you think have one or more sacks this year?
So I think we just named like 6. 11.
13.
Woo.
Yeah. So, look, here's the deal. I'm going to be upfront. I don't know the numbers for any other team. 13 might be very normal, but I don't think it's normal. I really don't. I think that's a lot. So, the Eagles are very much a front dominant team, a la the Steelers or the Giants of yesteryear, where you think like, okay, they just get those big guys out there and they just get you. But here's the thing: the Eagles are not afraid to blitz a middle linebacker or a safety or a corner on occasion and get those guys in there. So watch out for that, especially against a Browns team where you're maybe not as intimidated by the deep threats. So prepare for some blitzing to happen. It might be run blitzing, but if you get into third and long, like it's going to happen. The Eagles are not afraid to supplement that excellent front with some other guys. The only other matchup I thought was notable is that Darius Slay is actually quite good.
Yeah.
And I'll be interested to see if he follows Jarvis Landry around or if he stays on the outside and if they move Jarvis Landry into the slot to try to get him away from Darius Slay because the rest of their players are so bad and Jarvis Landry is kind of their big time guy.
Yeah.
Also, like, look, we've talked about the Browns defense. You've got Myles Garrett and you've got Denzel Ward, and they're really good. And if they don't do something awesome, then basically the Browns defense like falls out of the mold into like a puddle of nothingness. They stink. Luckily for them, Wentz turns the ball over like he does a lot. I think he might have 12 interceptions.
He takes a lot of sacks too.
Correctly. So look for a big game for these guys. You know, Myles Garrett, you had one great one. I'm looking for more. I'm looking for more. If you want to be Defensive Player of the Year, if you want to be better than Aaron Donald, if you want to be better than T.J. Watt, Marlon Humphrey, even if you're an AFC North person, a guy like Calais Campbell had, racked up the stats, but he was the cog in a really, really excellent defense. Some people define MVP that way. Some people say that if a team goes 8-8 and then you come in and you throw 22 touchdowns to 4 interceptions and you basically orchestrate two fourth quarter comebacks over a month while designing plays in the huddle, you deserve MVP consideration. I don't know what player I'm talking about. It's definitely not Big Ben. It's
Probably
definitely
a
not Big
player
Ben.
that's never had an MVP vote in his career.
Yeah, it's probably Russell Wilson. So here's my point. Um, I got a little astray there. The Browns' defense revolves around Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, and you should be looking for one of those guys to create a turnover, if not both. But sneaky guy, Ronnie Harrison. He, I think, is a good player, and he started out the year as the strong safety for the Browns. Got hurt, and he was back in action over the last couple weeks, and he had a couple nice plays last week. He's number 33, and I think we should watch him not only because he's good, but because he might be fundamental to the Browns' strategy for stopping two Eagles players that I think are the biggest deals, and that's Dallas Goedert and Miles Sanders. Is it Goddard or Goddard? I don't care.
I've always
Just
heard it Goddard. I like
oh yeah,
Godare though.
yeah.
It's
Go dare, go dare yourself to be great. Um, so, so I want to see where Ronnie Harrison is. Is he following the tight end? Is he supplementing the rush attack? Is he following Miles Sanders when he goes wide? Because Miles Sanders is a pass catcher. Um, I think this will be a close game. I think I'll probably take who's at home. The
Cleveland.
Browns. I think I'll probably take whoever is the underdog. I'll take the points
So
if
probably
it's.
Philly. I can't
Uh,
imagine the Browns are underdogs.
yeah, it sounded better before I knew. That's a tough one. That's a tough one, team. I don't know if I can give away my pick for this week. Based on last week, though, you can assume that whatever I say is wrong.
Yeah.
At least against the spread. I think.
Browns -3 on Yahoo right now.
Oh, oof, that's tough. I'm gonna have to sleep on it, but maybe the Browns. I think the Browns
Yeah.
should win by a field goal.
Yeah,
They
I
should
think
be
so
able to.
too. As long as Cody Parkey and the long snapper are there.
Dude, in their last two games, they've scored a combined 16 points, though. So that's just like not a lot of points to win by 3 with.
They only scored 6 points 2 games ago.
The Raiders, they
Oof.
lost 16-6 to the Raiders. So it's not like we're talking about the, high flying running offensive
They've
yesteryears.
also only given up 23 points the last 2 games.
Yeah. That doesn't go well if you're favored. All right, let's get to the big matchup. This is a matchup of identity crises here. We have two teams that thought they were hot shit. They might just be shit. Like, we got to figure it all out. We got to figure it out this week. The Ravens are playing the team that sent them home prematurely. I don't know. Some people think so. Maybe it was right on time from the playoffs last year. What is going on, Joey, and what's going to happen? Are you panicking?
I am concerned. I wouldn't say panicked yet. Just concerned. However, oh, nope. Nope. Thought I had a quote that I was looking for, but I don't. Hold on.
If you need to look at it, I can talk about a couple first. I'll talk about some stuff.
Okay.
So, we talked a little bit about the injuries, so I won't bring that up too much. But on offense, Nick Boyle, you brought him up. He's been key in the running game blocking situation. Also, a good pass catcher. I don't think that's as big of a deal strategically this week, although it has been a big deal because Lamar likes to find the tight ends, and he's been very sure-handed in a pinch. So I want to know, can the Ravens establish the run against these Titans, and what is it going to take? is establishing the run mean they run for 150 yards, but Lamar Jackson has like 70 of it on scrambles after the pocket collapses?
Yeah.
Or is it 80, but it's designed runs for Lamar? Who's playing? Are they using Ingram? Stupid. Or are they using the other guys? Smart. Just my opinion. Um, I just want to see how they do it because I think they need to do it, but I don't know how they're going to do it. And I'm curious because I think that will, well, it'll be food for thought as we talk about the season going forward. Um, and they've got a lot of injuries that you talked about with the offensive line and Nick Boyle. So are the Ravens going to keep trying to develop some sort of chemistry or identity that revolves around the receivers at all? And if they try, are they going to be successful? Because, well, maybe I'll lead it to you. Like, do you think the receivers are good enough to be successful? This is your door to complain about Brown.
I don't know. Willie Snead was like a revelation in the New England game. He had 2 touchdowns, caught a few more passes. Both his touchdowns were receptions, but one of them was like a little jet sweep pitch thing.
Yeah.
Because he's a Swiss Army knife. That's how it goes.
Yep.
Um,
Worthless tool.
so, other, my faith in Mark Andrews is even wavering. Like, drops have been a problem this year. Since the playoff game last year, drops have been a problem. I don't know, man. Just run the fuck out of the ball. That's all I want to see. This might be like team chemistry blasphemy. I don't like it when Mark Ingram's on the field this year. It's just
Me
not.
neither.
It's just not the same. I don't know if he's more injured than maybe we know or what. But I think right now Gus Edwards is their best running back, which is not an insult to the running backs room. Like, he is very good. He caught some passes against New England. He looked good. He's a physical guy, but he's not like a slow physical guy. And J.K. Dobbins is more of a third down back style guy. But yeah, I think to answer your question about getting the running game on track and what it looks like, Lamar's probably going to run for like 50-ish yards. But if he does, that means the Ravens need to run for like 200 probably. Like, him being like half of the rushing yards is not going to cut it, I don't think. But part of the biggest weakness of the Titans is that their pass rush this year has been like non-existent. They didn't sack Joe Burrow. Like, that's how bad their pass rush is this year.
It's not good.
So I don't know. I haven't seen enough without Nick Boyle. The Ravens will see what they can accomplish with some of the heavy set stuff that they like to run. Like, the killer formation last year was 3 tight ends, and that's been out the window largely this year anyways. I don't like having Patrick Ricard as a tight end or a pass catcher at all, even though the Ravens seem insistent upon doing it like once or twice a game. So I don't really know what to expect. It seems like running like the power run and the read option, get Gus going, and just kind of like build off of that and see what the Titans will give you is the way to do it. Mostly protect the ball. that's what fucks them. When they lose the turnover battle. When they don't turn the ball over, they win. That's just how it is. So if you look at the 3 games this year, turnovers, that's the story. So they just need to protect the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, Derrick Henry scares the shit out of me after what the Patriots did last week. And I don't know. I'm a little concerned about the style that the Titans pass catchers play. They're physical. Like, they're not afraid to, like, get in the mix. We'll probably see Patrick Queen exploited on a play action play to, like, Jonnu Smith at some point in this game. Wouldn't shock me.
Definitely. It would be egregious if the Titans don't at least try a lot.
Yeah. So it'll be a close game, I think. I don't know. I don't know what to expect. My confidence in the Ravens is at a season low right now, and I don't know.
It's almost hard to see you like this.
One thing that I do like, and I don't know if I said it on here last week or if I just said it to somebody, but I did feel like last week was kind of a trap game, because I imagine that this week's game has been circled on the schedule since it came out.
I should hope so.
However, Lamar Jackson said today, it's not a revenge game. It's over with. It was last year. We can't do nothing about it. We're just trying to go 7-3 this year. And I think I like that mentality. I think that's at the very least the right thing to say.
7-3. Did you quote that right?
Yeah,
13-3.
They're 6-3 right now. They're trying to go 7-3.
7-3. Gotcha. Trying to get to the next win.
That's right. All that matters is week 11. So
my bad. That's why I never would have made it.
So the Ravens just need to not blink and get some splash plays and get out of there alive. I don't know.
I've been thinking about this, and I think that Lamar Jackson, they need to cut him loose whether he likes it or not in the running game. Yes. I think the biggest difference between this year's Patriots or Ravens and last year's is that last year in the running game, even when they were doing these 12-minute or 10 whatever long minute drives they were doing, there would be multiple runs of 10, 12 yards, sometimes 50 if it's Lamar, you know? Like, they're not getting that this year. The running game is good. And that's why I'm conflicted about Gus, because Gus, he's going to give you that 4 to 6 yards per carry, and that seems like it's good enough. But the reason the Ravens were so good is because they could convert a first down in 2 downs like every time with the running game.
Yeah.
You suck all those players up, and then even a bad receiver like Hollywood Brown could get wide open because no one's back there trying to guard him. So I think that the only guy they have right now that is guaranteed to create that level of threat is Lamar. So to me, the Ravens aren't whatever this year's peak Ravens can possibly be unless Lamar is rushing for like 100+ yards a game.
Yeah, the designed runs to Lamar have been much fewer and far between this year, it seems like. Outside of the Steelers game, the read option wasn't there. And even so, last week he had one play where he was kind of drifting left, and there was a lot of room in front of him, and he like went to scramble and pulled up and threw the ball, and it ended up being incomplete. But he could have gotten the first down running. Like, it's been kind of like this all year, and at times he's lost trust in the O line and he hasn't gone through his progressions. But when he has time, it's almost like he's too willing to be a passer. For as good of a runner as he is, sometimes I think he's too willing to be a passer, especially with this group of pass catchers. Like, fuck these guys. Like, just run. Like, just go. Like, stop waiting for, like, Miles Boykin to uncover or fucking Hollywood Brown to get 80 yards downfield instead of 65 yards downfield. Like,
I'm with you. And I have one other idea before it's out. Lamar and the Ravens like to run the pistol offense, which is like, if I understand it correctly, you stand like one step closer to the center than you would if you were in shotgun.
it's like half shotgun, yeah.
It's like half shotgun. I think they should run the sniper, where he's twice as far back. And the reason I want to say that is because, look, their whole awesome running game was predicated on the tackle letting a defensive end run free, and Lamar would just execute it so that they were not a problem and you have an extra man. If you're in the sniper and he's way back there, both tackles can let the defensive ends run free, and he can make them both miss because he's got like 12 yards and they're not going to be able to keep up. He can just either do like a screen, right? He could dump it right over their heads to a running back, or he could run to either side, throw the ball, or run. I'm telling you, I'm inventing a formation, and they should do it. Like, he's a punt returner, right? Like, you even say it. It's not top speed with Lamar. It's shiftiness. It's understanding, like, leverage of defenders. Like, he can make a 315-pound person miss in a punt return situation. It's a joke. Consider it. You can rename it. Doesn't have to be the sniper. But Skur is part of the problem anyway, right? He can't snap the ball, so you can replace him with your long snapper. I'm solving like all your problems at the same time. You love it?
I love it.
I love it.
I heard last week Kyler Murray compared to Dante Hall, and I'm a little offended because like Kyler Murray's plenty shifty, but like he's not doing any of this like in a phone booth with four guys type of shit that Lamar does. But I've got a picture for you, Chad. I know you're familiar with it already. Lamar's on board. Sniper offense. Let's go.
That was the other thing about it, is that his arm is really strong. So even if he's back,
Yeah.
he can still complete the passes. Like, it's not going to be a problem, like, for him to throw it from a little further back. And frankly, half the time he scrambles, he runs back there anyway. So, like, I'm telling you,
We should write a letter to Greg Roman on AFC Northcast letterhead.
It sounds stupid, but I honestly think there's something to it. Like, why is there, like, there's no reason you can't stand farther back.
Nope.
There's no reason. So I just think it gives them a competitive advantage. Like, they have to block. Like, I really do. I'm selling myself on it the more I talk about it, but like, you need to take advantage of his skill set. There's not a defensive lineman that can tackle him if he has 12 yards to watch them come. Like, no one can do it.
And it gives you more time to react to wherever Matt Skura is going to snap the ball.
Yeah. Well, you put the long snapper in, so he's not.
There you go. Take Skura out of it. Morgan Cox, let's go, baby.
I
like this.
I'm not going to put my address out there on the internet. The Ravens can write me a check. I'm telling you, this is like in their future. It's in their future. You heard it here first, people. This is a serious thing that just happened.
That's right. Heisman formation, old news. It's all about the sniper.
Heard it here first.
What's your prediction for this game? What do you think?
The Ravens are up to a touchdown. I think I like the Ravens. I'm gonna stick with them. You know, teams have bad games. And I think that the Titans are still gonna be so one-dimensional, because I don't think A.J. Brown is a problem for the Ravens. They don't even have to follow him. Either Peters or Humphrey can deal with him, and the other one can deal with Corey Davis.
Yeah.
Henry's going to get yards with the injuries they have on the defensive line. That's going to happen. But the Ravens, look, before this Patriots game, they were scoring like 30 points a game. Like, let's imagine Derrick Henry running for 210 yards on 35 carries. Does that still get the Titans to 30 points?
Right. That's probably like 2 touchdowns. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe 3. Like, you still got to get to 30. Like, I think the Ravens, like, you got to get to 30 on this Titans defense. You just got to. If you're the Ravens. I know the Steelers got to 27, but that was like in the first half, and then they stopped playing. So, like, get to 30 and you win.
Yeah.
Comfortably. If they lose, I'm going to make fun of you. So you got to live with that.
If they lose, you'll never see me again. So.
Oh, we got the milk carton. We got the milk carton, people.
God, if they lose and then they have to play the Steelers on a short week. Ugh.
Dude, how cool would it be if the Ravens were 6-5 playing just to stay above 500 the week after Thanksgiving? Lot to be thankful for.
Super cool.
Super Bowl contenders, baby.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
All right. What do you think? Has this been enough pain for you? Do you feel you should be nervous because you have a lot on the line? Our roles are totally reversed.
I'm just nervous about Derrick Henry. That's pretty much it.
Tractor Cedo. It's very important that we use his nickname.
I don't really know how they stop him when there's any possibility that the Titans are also passing.
Yeah, it's a problem. Ellis. Matabuki. Derek Wolf.
I do like Derek Wolf. I like that he's
fine.
Getting into it with offensive linemen. I'm down for that. I want my D lineman with some edge.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do something if you're not going to tackle anybody. Let's get out of here. Oh, who won? Oh man, I think it might have been Roddy that won.
Oh, so major development in the pick'em this week.
Oh, I passed you in the standings.
Wire to wire leader so far this year. Oh, be jealous of my pick'em. Forgot to put in her picks. A big fat goose egg last week and dropped to 4th. So Bones is currently first with 96 picked right, followed by Chad 94 and myself 93. So we are all chasing Bones. But it's close.
Roddy did win, right? Wasn't Roddy the winner this past week?
This past week, yes. Clay and Luca, same team one day. Rodrigo.
Not this year, Roddy.
Only got 2 games wrong. Philly losing to the Giants and the Ravens game.
Pathetic.
Sickening, some would say.
Yeah. Good job, Roddy. Come back, join the pick'em. I don't know this. You do this part.
Yeah. Join the pick'em on Yahoo. The link's on our page somewhere. Every week I say I'm going to bump it up to the top and repost it, but I never do. So let's be real. Probably won't happen. But it's fun.
It's down there.
Yeah, we enjoy it. It's a good time. And it's easy. No confidence points, no spreads. Just pick winners. If you're like me, for tiebreakers, you have to pick the score of the primetime games. I just put in 69 for every score. And then every week I say Steelers least points, Ravens most points. Easy day.
I cut even more fat off that, and I do 3 as a single digit score for every team, and I pick Arizona because they're the first team in the alphabet. Arizona is the most and the least. Yeah, so I don't even let Spike get into it because we rise above that, and that's how you get to perfection.
That's the difference between big brother and little brother, I guess.
It is. It is.
That's fair. I don't. I don't. I don't really have a leg to stand on at the moment. So,
It's okay, buddy. You'll be back.
but if we beat the Titans, oh boy.
Yeah. Then we can go back to Joey Gymnastics, where you talk about how much better your Titans victory was than the Steelers.
That's right.
I'll look forward to that.
Can't wait.
All
God
right.
forbid we beat them by more than 3 points. It's fucking on like Donkey Kong. All right, everybody. Have a good week. All these games are at 1, so enjoy 1 o'clock watching your favorite team play and maybe catch some highlights. NFL does a really good, usually they're like 10 to 15 minute long highlight package on each game where they show like more than just scoring plays. If you're interested in keeping up with some of these division teams that you don't get to watch all the time. So
Plus, there's us. We'll tell you the highlights, some of the lowlights, and some of the stuff in between.
that's right. And then we'll probably slander Hollywood Brown a little bit more next week. Can't wait.